Okay, let's begin. So, hello everyone. Um, Thank you for having me. Uh, Glad to be here. And today we're gonna talk about a few things, mainly about ideas. Uh, as I go through my presentation, you'll get a better understanding of what kind of ideas I'm going to talk about. I'm going to try and talk really slowly. So if you have questions or anything, or if you need me to repeat anything, please just let me know and I'll try and explain everything a little bit better. Because I appreciate that not everyone can understand or hear well over the internet. Okay, so today we're going to talk about ideas. But firstly, I guess you guys must be wondering who I am. So I'll just talk a little bit of myself. Um so hello again. My name is An. As Liliet has already told you. So 10 years ago, I was kind of where you were. So this is me 10 years ago. This was actually our graduation in 2007. I graduated from um, class. Now it's called Kabe, I believe. After that, I actually went to study economics abroad, which is not what people expect, but it just happened. Um, and this is sort of what the next 10 years of my life look like. So I spent some time in Scotland um, wearing kilts because that's just things that people in Scotland do. Spent 2 years in Scotland, moved down to Bristol to attend university, completed my bachelor in economics in Bristol. As you can see on the top far right photo, that's my graduation. After that, I moved to London to work as a management consultant at one of the big four accounting firms, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Worked there for a little while, and yeah, it was pretty good, but I wasn't totally happy with the work, with the kind of work I was doing. Too many Excel spreadsheets and not enough ideas. So I moved to Atlanta to attend portfolio school in advertising. So I spent 2 years there from 2014 to 2016. After which I moved to New York to work as a freelancer for a little while. So bottom right, you can see a photo of me in New York. Um, all good so far. But obviously, a lot of many things happening in America right now. So I kind of decided to leave, and I guess my journey around the world has now taken me here, which is Singapore. So I've spent about 3 months in Singapore now. Living in this beautiful city, country, doing what I love. So right now I work as a advertising copywriter. So it's one of the part of the creative department within an advertising agency. So for the purpose of this talk, I guess all you need to know is that in my daily job, what I do is I come up with ideas on how to make brands, companies relevant, right? Like how to make people care about these companies, different brands. Like, so right now I work on a couple of brands, Shell, like the oil company, and then Intercontinental Hotel Groups, which is like a big groups of hotels consisting of like Holiday Inn, Crown Plaza, so a bunch of different places. So my job is to come up with different ideas. Again, emphasis on ideas on how to make people care about these brands, these companies, by essentially solving their daily problems, right? Often with the help of technology. So figuring out what people what kind of problems people are dealing with in their daily lives, and try to make the brands be that problem solver for them. So for the purpose of this talk, I don't think it's not about advertising per se. It's not about, how can we make an art, how can we make a, a commercial that's interesting. It's more about being a problem solver. It's more about, hopefully giving you guys ideas of what I do, or people in my profession do, and then hopefully that will inspire you to use what you're learning right now to solve more problems, because that's really, really important, solving problems. So let's go. I'll go through a series of projects that I find very interesting in advertising that have been that come out in the last couple of years, and then I'll go through them, explain why they're interesting, why they're relevant, and then if you have questions, we can talk about them in more details later on. All good so far? Okay. So the first project is to do with art. So we'll start with a bit of art, because I think art is always something that people like, and it's always something that people can relate to. So if you look at the picture, at the painting on the left, this is a Rembrandt painting. I don't know if people know who Rembrandt are, like you guys know who Rembrandt are, but he's basically one of the famous Dutch painters. And he has a very specific style. Like he did a lot of, obviously portraits. And one of the things is he died in 1669. So it's quite a long time ago. So my question to you guys is, can anyone guess when this painting was painted? Just like a guess.
17th century.
When?
17th century.
17th century? Not close enough. Any other guess? Anyone else?
Maybe 1605.
Can you say it louder? I can't really hear.
Maybe 1658.
Which year, sorry?
1658.
1658. Okay, so all of those answers are wrong. And the reason they are wrong, it's because this painting was actually painted in 2016. Now, I said it was a Rembrandt painting. I didn't say Rembrandt painted the picture, right? So that's the difference. Because this painting that I just showed you guys was actually painted by a computer. And this is a project that was done by an advertising agency in Amsterdam, JWT Amsterdam. And they did it to highlight the analytical capability of a bank, ING. So let me just play you guys this video, which will basically explain the project. And I'll go through it a little bit more after that.
One of Rembrandt's great achievements was to portray human emotions in a much more convincing way than artists had before him, and in many ways for all time.
At ING, we believe in the power of innovation, what it can mean to people. We want to bring this innovative spirit to our sponsorship of Dutch art and culture. We knew that for this challenge, we needed to team up with experts from various fields to make this come to life.
We're using a lot of data to improve business life. But we haven't been using data that much in a way that touches the human soul. You could say that we use technology and data like Rembrandt used his paints and his brushes to create something new.
The first step was to study the works of Rembrandt in order to create an extensive database. We gathered the data from his collection of paintings from many different sources, including 3D scans and upscale images using a deep learning algorithm. Because a significant percentage of Rembrandt paintings were portraits, we analyzed the demography of the faces in these paintings, looking at factors like gender, age, and head direction. The data led us to the conclusion that the subject should be a portrait of a Caucasian male with facial hair between 30 and 40 years old, in dark clothing with a collar, wearing a hat, and facing to the right. From there, we started to extract features only with faces that were related to that specific profile.
And we had to create a whole painting from just data. And we used statistical analysis and various algorithms to extract the features that make Rembrandt Rembrandt.
We took parts of the face and we started to compare them. And then, based on this, we're able to create a typical Rembrandt eye or nose or mouth or ear. After generating the features, we were focusing on the face proportions. We used an algorithm that can detect over 60 points in a painting. We were able to align the faces and to estimate the distance between the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and the ears.
A painting is not a 2D picture, it's 3D. You can see the canvas, you can see the brushes, and that's what makes the painting come alive. A hive map is essential to make the painting a painting.
We incorporated the height map into the painting and printed on a 3D printer that uses a special paint-based UV ink. It printed many layers, one on top of the other, which resulted in the height and texture of the final painting.
It's sometimes a magical moment to see a painting for the first time. Even if it's computer generated, for me it is something special. I would have believed if I saw it in a museum that it would have been a real Rembrandt, just one I haven't seen before.
It will be interesting to see Rembrandt looking at it. He will be happy that there are people trying to understand him and trying to create something out of that, so I think he will be happy.
The next Rembrandt makes you think about where innovation can take us. What's next?
Okay, so we all understand what they did, right? They just took a lot of, they used a computer to calculate all the specific features of all the Rembrandt paintings, and they extracted the very specific features of each of those paintings and used that to create a whole new painting in the style of Rembrandt. So that's what they did. Do you guys have any more technical specific questions about the project, or is it all clear? Okay, no questions?
No, everything's clear.
Okay, cool. So the idea behind this is, pretty simple. Like you look at that painting, and essentially what you it's a bank, right? So a bank obviously uses a lot of data in their day-to-day work to analyze portfolio, analyze market share, all of those things, and you turn that analytical capability from looking like something like a calculator, something really, really boring, to looking like something like this. So it's actually a piece of art that people can relate to, but it was all built using very specific data that only a computer can do. So obviously, for a bank, this is a big deal because they've managed to humanize what they do to a level that we humans can understand. They use data and numbers and all that thing to create art. So that's obviously a pretty striking thing about this project. So obviously it's very relevant, right? When you come up with ideas, when you try to do something new, it's all about relevance, right? It's because no matter how clever the things you can do, like obviously we all study science to a very advanced level. If people don't care about what you do, then it becomes irrelevant. It doesnent matter. And in this very specific case, the world obviously wanted to see another Rembrandt painting. He's a very famous painter, and we haven't seen a new painting in almost four centuries. So we use art to give people a new painting. To use data, use computers, use artificial intelligence, and deep machine learning to give people a new painting. At the same time, highlighting the capability of what a bank can do for us. So that's the very first project. The next one, we'll still stay with art for a little bit longer because, as you may really you'll come to realize, art is something that's so prevalent in our life. So a lot of ideas, in order to make them relevant, you have to bring them into art. So this mural was painted in Hong Kong by a famous street artist called Bao. So she left her signature on the painting, as you can see. And that's her painting this mural. It's a pretty cool mural. But what's more interesting about this mural is the fact that it's painted using ink made from air pollution.
I see smog and pollution every morning.
You can see it on buildings.
Air pollution is killing about
tiny particulate matter in the air reach nearly under.
It's really hard to get fresh air.
I used to think the sheer scale of this issue can make us feel powerless. But when you connect ideas with passion and creativity, amazing things are possible.
Hi, my name is Anita Sharma and I'm the co-founder of Gravity Labs. We are an MIT spin-off which works on building technologies that can make a real-world impact. We built this contraption that we connect behind the exhaust and the tailpipe of the car. After we're done capturing the raw carbon in the suit, we take it through a purification process and then we convert that air pollution into printing ink. The same technology can be scaled to fit onto boats, chimneys and brick kilns, and cranes. But hey, we've captured all this air pollution inside this little bottle. And now you can paint with this.
So we've transformed air pollution into 150 liters of Tiger Air ink.
Now it's time to pack our bags and take this technology out of the lab and test it for the real world. Putting this ink in the hands of people who are actually going to use them.
We sending you messages. You see walls, I see canvases. I feed off my famished, hungry state. I got colors on my plate. Feeding the world with the world on my wrist. It can't break. Shake the paint.
When you start talking to people from different disciplines, they show you things about your own technology in a way that you never imagined before.
透過畫嘢可以將嗰啲空氣污染嘅物質咧走返上去我自己 artwork。
You can create quite interesting textures. Damn, this is a really good black, but I'm like, oh my god, how much pollution went into this?
This pen is approximately 40 to 50 minutes of diesel car pollution.
Tiger Air and Project champions creativity from the streets. We want to bring people together who have the skills, the passion, and also the craft to make an impact.
Ink has been the most powerful medium of expression for thousands of years. So anywhere there are artists, there are people who use inks to write. Any place ink is used, this whole idea of air ink can go. That fusion of art, that fusion of expression and science, when it happens, I think new magic appears.
Okay, so that's pretty cool, right? Like, it's just a very simple idea in terms of, well, I guess not simple, obviously they spend a lot of time researching and doing all that. But, people who, you guys studying chemistry, for instance, could have easily done something like this. Like, if you studied it long enough, you set out like a specific goal, you could have done this very easily. But in this case, they made it into something that people actually relate to and they can care about. Turning air pollution into something that you can use to create art is quite a powerful idea. But I guess then you may be asking, like, what's in this for, what's in it for a beer brand? Because Tiger is the beer brand that sponsored this whole project. And why is this relevant for them? It's because Tiger's, their platform is all about helping people to come together to share their passion and ideas. So traditionally, if you look at it from an advertising perspective, not from a problem solver perspective, you may be thinking about, oh, like, let's just do a TV commercial, right? The TV commercial showing people coming together, celebrating something over a few years. That's a kind of advertising that's in the past. Nowadays, what we really do and what Tiger chose to do in this instance is to channel their brand into solving a problem. And they obviously, they chose to do this. They sponsored a project, a science project that, transform air pollution into ink that people can use to create art. And this is far more powerful for their brand than just making a commercial, about people drinking beer. In this instance, they brought people together to solve, one of the biggest problems in the world right now. And obviously they do it over a beer. So that in itself, it's quite powerful, and that's why this project really resonated with people. Any questions so far on this? No?
No.
Okay. Cool. Let's then just move on. Because we're still talking about paint, so here's something completely different for you guys. So this next project is also about paint, but it solves a different kind of problems. So the premise of this is pretty simple. Every year in the UK, over 19,000 cyclists are involved in some kind of accidents, often because of low visibility on the road. So if you are cycling on the road at night and you don't wear reflective material, reflective clothes, then it's very likely that the cars will not see you and they can hit you pretty easily, leading to accidents. So the next project, this project was done by an agent in London for Volvo, the car brand. I guess everyone knows Volvo. Volvo's main platform has always been about, promoting safety on the road. So they wanted to create something that would, solve this problem of cyclists getting into accidents because they are not seen on the road at night. So what they created was this thing called Life Paint. And from the GIF you can see, you can kind of guess what it does already. But for this one, I also have a quick video to show. Let me just paste the link in.
Nearly every day something almost happens. You've kind of got to be able to second guess the taxi in front of you or the pedestrians coming up.
I end up getting nearly hit at least once a day.
The young driver lost concentration and hit me from behind. I was extremely lucky that day. The doctor said that 95% of people that would have sustained those injuries would have been killed by them.
We're on roads that were built really 100 years ago for far less traffic.
In terms of cycling at night, I feel way less visible. Sometimes I choose not to cycle home at night. It's a lot more dangerous.
Light Paint is a unique spray, different to other reflective products on the market. When you apply it to the surface, the reflective particles will stick together with a special adhesive, making the spray invisible by day, but light up at night in the glare of headlights.
Volvo is renowned for its safety innovations. Light Paint takes the principles of our 2020 vision, protecting passengers inside the car to protect those outside too.
I think you've just got to be as visible as you can, and that's the good thing about Life Paint, is it makes it very hard for you to be missed.
Putting something on that will make you scream out to drivers like me is a fantastic thing.
I think cycle safety in London is not all about bicycles, it's about cars, it's about pedestrians, it's about sharing the road with other users. So it's great that a car brand has got involved to essentially help cyclists and help drivers in the end and save lives.
Okay, so again, this idea was a very simple idea. The idea was that, Volvo's, like trying to create something to make Volvo's message about safety on the road relevant. And they did so by creating, by creating something that would solve people's problem, like problems that many cyclists face every day. So it's not actually about cars, right? Because you would think that Volvo as a car brand would try to make something that get people to buy cars, but it's not. It's more about, obviously the main platform is like, we are the safest cars in the world, therefore we'll try to do anything we can to make the road a safer place. So this solution is a very indirect way to promote their brand, but it still worked because it obviously raised their profile and raised what they stood for among a lot of people. And the thing about this paint is that it's actually water-based, so it's not something that you spray on yourself and it'll stay there forever. It washes off with every wash, so you just need to, like, every time you wear something new, you just need to reapply the paint. So it works pretty well. There were some questions about how effective it was, but for the purpose of being a problem solver, trying to solve a problem, and what a brand can do to solve a problem, this is a very good example of what was achieved. And that it's kind of like leads me to this kind of more, I guess, like those are the main 3 projects that I like. I have one more to share, but those are the main 3 projects that I found interesting in terms of how we could use science and technology in many ways to solve problems and do it in a way that it's relatable to people, right? Because again, as I said before, anyone studying chemistry, at our school, if you go on to study chemistry at university, you could have probably come up with something like this. But the problem is, like, a lot of the times, even though we are really good at what we do, like we have a lot of knowledge, we win a lot of awards in competitions, national, international. What we fail to do is actually use what we've learned to solve real problems, and that's something that we all should aim to do, push to do. So everything that you do right now, everything that you learn at school right now, use that to think about real problems that you can solve. Doesn't have to do anything with advertising, because advertising is just, that's just one aspect of it. Like, obviously every company is trying to solve some sort of problem in the world, and in advertising we're moving more and more towards this kind of projects where we're actually trying to solve real problems. But you don't have to work in advertising to come up with these kind of solutions to people's real problems, right? Because even that life paint wasn't something that an advertising agency created, for instance. It was something that a lab somewhere in London created. It was a good solution. And then the advertising agency and Volvo just brought it to public knowledge through their advertising campaign. But it's still something that chemists had to like learn and research and do a lot of work in order to come up with that solution. The same thing go for the Air Ink project. It wasn't something that Tiger created. It was something that Tiger promoted in order to help solve the problem with air pollution. So we can all aim and push ourselves towards that kind of thinking. Everything we do needs to be aimed at solving a particular problem. If you're not solving a problem, you're not really doing it right. So as I said, we should push ourselves to do this every day. Try to think about a problem, try to find a solution to it, be it technological, be it chemical, physical, whatever we study. We need to find relevance in what we do. So I've got one more project to show, and this is a more personal project. It's something that I came up with. So I guess I'll let you guys see it first.
Knowing different languages helps us better understand the world, experience new cultures, and ultimately make more friends. But learning a new language is hard. It's especially hard when you don't live and breathe it every day, when what you learn is quickly forgotten because it's not what you talk about in real life. Unfortunately, not everyone can move to a new country just to learn a language. But with the advancement in artificial intelligence, we can still make the whole process of learning a language personal. Bringing you Immerse from Rosetta Stone. Using machine learning and image recognition software, Rosetta Stone scans your photo library and social media to create lessons based on your life. So if you're a ramen lover and want to learn Japanese, Rosetta Stone will use your Ramen Foodstagram to teach you all about ramen in Japanese, starting with simple words like noodle, and ending with sentences like, "Can I get pork miso ramen with an extra egg?"
私は余分な卵と豚肉の味噌ラーメンを得ることができますか?
And because you already have a memory of doing this in English, remembering how to do it in Japanese becomes much easier. With Immerse, you learn languages by simply living. And when you finally visit Japan, there'll be no language barrier stopping you from ordering pork miso ramen with an extra egg, like a real Japanese.
So of course I've had to learn a few languages throughout my life. I started, obviously my native language, mother tongue is Vietnamese, and then I moved to Ukraine, I had to learn Russian, and then when I moved to the UK, I had to learn English. So for me, this project is it's very personal, because throughout my adulthood, having to learn all these languages, I always wanted to find an easy way to learn them. Even like learn more languages. Like I tried to learn Spanish and some other languages, but it's always really hard when you don't actually live in the environment, you don't speak the language, which I'm sure a lot of you guys find right now, because obviously when you live in, majority of the times you speak Russian, it's much harder to learn English and to understand English, or to get into the mindset of speaking English. So this project, again, it's not like I am a specialist in artificial intelligence or image recognition technology. It's just an idea that I had, because it's an idea that basically it's based off what I know about the technology, and I know what it's capable of, and it's actually an idea that aims to solve a specific problem. So that's kind of like, you know, something that I came up with. It's a student project. So unfortunately, it's not quite real yet, because the technology is getting there, but it's not quite there yet. So right now, if you go to one of the Google's websites, the Google's artificial intelligence engines, you can paste an image, any image in there, and it will give you the description of the image accurate to a certain percentage. So if you paste an image of a tiger, it'll tell you that, you know, this image is, you know, 80% or 90% tiger. So ultimately, as the technology develops further, hopefully this idea can actually become true, where you can just scan all your social media, you know, all your Facebook, Instagram photos, Twitter photos, anything you have, and it will use what you're already familiar to create lessons that will actually be relevant for you. So that the kind of language lessons that you actually use. Even though the solution, you know, that last project, which, you know, is my personal project, it's not real yet. The point is, every solution to a real problem starts with a, you know, seemingly idea how to solve a problem, and it seems impossible. Still talk about it, still look into it, because ultimately that's how, you know, something impossible becomes possible if enough people start thinking. Thought the last advice, I guess, is for you guys to just keep, you know, working on it, keep dreaming about your ideas, keep coming up with better ideas to solve real problems. Because if you stop dreaming, you're just sleeping. So that's I guess the parting words, the wisdom for today's session. And questions time. So if anyone has any questions for any of the projects, you know, anything else that, you know, I talk about, or just, you know, more clarifications, we can start now.
About how many years or months can take the whole project about translation and learning other languages?
I can't hear very well. Can someone actually just type out the questions?
Please repeat. About how many years or months can it take to finish the project about translations and languages?
Which campaign? The last one or the?
This project. How many years can it take to finish the last project?
How many years did they take to finish a project like that?
Yes,
okay. So.
And how time can it take?
Okay, so let me try rephrase the question if I understood it correctly. How many years did it take to complete a project like one of the ones I showed? Well, the last project is not actually, it's just a concept. So it's not actually a finished project yet. It's just an idea that we came up with. So we put it out there to see if anyone would pick it up. All the other projects, they were completed within 1 year from the advertising perspective. So the first one, the Next Rembrandt project, they got the brief. They wanted, obviously, you know, like, how can we make ING's, which is a bank, analytical capability, like, you know, how can we promote that? The advertising agency went in and came up with that idea to create a new painting by Rembrandt. So from then on, they started working with obviously scientists from Microsoft, scientists from different areas in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and they all worked together. And that actually all came together within a year. So it shows the power of, you know, of what you can possibly achieve if everyone works together on you know, with a single goal. So that was done in a year. I believe the other two projects were a little longer in terms of development, because obviously with the air pollution, the air that the ink made from air pollution, that is a technology that's been developed for a while now. But I guess what happened was that the advertising agency and Tiger, they found out about the technology, and they just decided to use it to promote the course. And similarly with the Life Paint, again, like that was the product itself was developed for a while now, but it wasn't very popular, or it wasn't known. So once it got framed into a solution like that, it became something that people are more aware of. So in terms of developing the campaign, the advertising campaign, it all took about a year. Some products take longer to develop.
Okay, the next question, please. What was your previous
my previous job?
What's your previous project?
Previous what? Sorry.
What's the previous project?
Sorry, like last word. What's the previous what?
Project.
Project?
Yes.
Which project? The last one, or?
Yes.
What was my previous project?
I'm so sorry. What is your previous project?
He asked about your previous project.
My previous projects, as in the other projects that I haven't shown, or my previous jobs.
Okay, the next question, please.
No, I'm gonna try and answer this. So my my previous before I'll answer two bits, right? Okay, so projects wise, I've only started working in advertising recently, so I'm actually still working on real projects right now. So I don't really have a lot of real projects to show yet. So, but I do have a website where you can go on and check out, my student work and my some of my produced work. I can provide the website in here, and then you guys can go check it out. And then in terms of my, I guess just to to be safe, I also answer the question about careers. So I after I finished university, I actually worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a management consultant. So that was that wasn't really advertising or creative or coming up with ideas. That was more going into a company and try to solve their operational business problems. So if they have issues with processes or organization design or finance, or all these different areas, we'd go in and try to solve that. But the reason I didn't want to work in that area or in that profession was because essentially it was the same thing over and over and over again. So you work with Excel spreadsheets, you work with PowerPoints, and you do the same thing. Whereas in my current profession, in my current job, I get the opportunity to come up with ideas. So every new project, we have to come up with new ideas of how to solve a certain problem. So right now I've been working on a project for Shell, which essentially is about solving problems for Chinese truckers who are on the road for a long period of time and try to make their life easier. So we're trying to figure out how can we make their journey less lonely, safer, and more, I guess, less boring. So it's one of the projects I'm working on right now. So again, it involves like a lot of thinking in terms of identifying people's real problems and then solving them. So I hope that answers your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, please, from one. Okay, I'm so sorry. The next question, please, question. No, we have okay, we haven't any question. Okay, thank you very much. We have the question, but I hope we understand all this important and useful information. This is very interesting, first of all. Thank you very much. And the last question maybe from me. Can you say about Richelieu Lyceum? Can you say education or Lyceum is helpful for you or no in your career, professionally?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like obviously before I came to the school, before I came to Lyceum, it was kind of like, you know, you can be either a geek or someone else. Like, you know, you can be either the cool kid or the geek. When I came to Lyceum, I kind of understood that you can be the geek and you can be that cool kid, because geeks were actually kind of cool. So I think Lyceum, the school, the biggest thing that it taught me, I guess, and allowed me to do throughout my life until now is that I became kind of fearless. I would always try to do something new. I always try new things. I always go into new challenges with the kind of I can do it attitude. So I think that's very important. So whatever you do, you always feel like you can do it because you've graduated from Richelieu Lyceum. So you know that you can do it. There's nothing impossible for you. So that's the kind of attitude that I take with me into every new chapter of my life, and it's helped me so far immensely.
Okay, thank you very much. We haven't had a question yet. Thank you. I hope this is the last of your presentation, and I hope we will meet in the next year. Thank you very much. Thank you, and I stop the online translation.